Anita gaslights Sargon with an accusation of gaslighting. Hey, it's Prince of Queens, and this particular pet peeve of mine has come up briefly in several videos, but up until today, I did not have a perfect reason to make an entire video about this. This repeated annoyance is the concept of gaslighting, and much more specifically, the misusage of the phrase by people who are actually gaslighting themselves that very moment. First and foremost, the common definition of gaslighting is to manipulate somebody by psychological means into questioning their own sanity. It's considered a form of mental abuse. It's generally used to describe patterns of abuse from intimate partners, and usually takes shape when an abuser discusses past conflicts with the person that they are abusing and dishonestly blames the person being abused for what was actually something that the abuser caused. And they act like the person is crazy for not realizing how much they have supposedly hurt the abuser. However, due largely to the mega propaganda site of all feminist blogs, Everyday Feminism, which published an incredibly widely circulated article on the subject a few years ago, now each and every fourth wave feminist understands what gaslighting is, at least in text, and many of them use it to attack others frequently. Problem is, well, feminists are absolute experts in emotional and mental manipulation and abuse, because it's really about the only thing they're legitimately good at. And so chances are, when they accuse other people of gaslighting, kind of like passing gas, the person who smelt it and mentioned it first usually is the person doing it. You see, a simple way to describe the actions of professional feminists is that they most often present an argument that is based on a lie to avoid being caught, lie about lying, and then lie about the people who catch them lying. What really annoys me about the fact that feminists are using these constant accusations of gaslighting on basically anybody that ever disagrees with them, usually over the internet, is that gaslighting legitimately strikes me as generally a distinctly female form of interpersonal abuse that is probably rarely committed by males. When you tend to think of intimate partner abuse from men, it is usually the obsessive, "I love you so much that I would kill you and kill myself if you ever left me," coupled with occasional physical violence. However, while women definitely do hit men in relationships, maybe even more often than men hit women, the more common forms of abuse from abusive women are emotional and psychological. Abusive women, more often than not, use a 1-2 combination of psychological abuse towards their partners, family members, or close friends in the way that they simultaneously instigate conflicts with the people close to them, often by way of relentless criticism and trying to make the person feel bad about themselves, and then, if the person on the receiving end of this criticism ever gets mad, they'll blame them for the conflict. This is a behavior so common in abusive women that I can remember numerous female friends of mine throughout my life that got into patterns doing this not just to me, but with their boyfriends and even their own fathers. Seriously, I have witnessed that. Now, with the advent of fourth wave social media and blog-driven feminism, abusive women frequently take these tactics of abuse to the internet, blatantly picking fights with men, usually by way of what starts as a simple disagreement, then accusations of mansplaining when he tries to explain his position, passive-aggressive insults towards him, then a snide, "You mad, bro?" when he calls her on those insults, trying to imply that he's losing his cool irrationally. Then, she often attempts to get whoever is a mutual friend with him to unfriend him on Facebook, and if she is successful, a triumphant sip from a male tears mug. Finally, of course, if the guy tries to tell anybody about it, the feminist will start accusing him of gaslighting, all the while claiming that he is a horrible misogynist that started an argument with her, engaging in violent and oppressive language that's abusive, and that nobody should listen to him, which is, of course, gaslighting itself. She is not just gaslighting the dude, but gaslighting whomever she is trying to convince of this alternate reality in which she is not the real problem. Because, like probably the vast majority of feminist talking points, gaslighting accusations from feminists are almost unanimously a form of projection, as feminists gaslight more than anybody I've ever encountered in my entire life. It's basically their go-to vehicle for handling conflicts, and they keep thinking they won't eventually get caught. Which brings me to Anita Sarkeesian and Sargon of Akkad, who had an explosive moment started by Anita when she couldn't even wait for her critics to actually do or say anything at the convention she was speaking on a panel at, and she preemptively decided to insult him and accuse him of being a harasser into the microphone. I'm sure you've heard. I'm not going to read her entire public statement that came out today because, again, I'm sure you've heard about it by now. But what really irritates me is that she is gaslighting the situation. And of course, she has the nerve to accuse Sargon and his friends of being the ones gaslighting. Here's the paragraph in question. They will no doubt plead innocent and act shocked at what they characterize as the outrageousness of such allegations. This too is part of their strategy, gaslighting, acting in a way intended to encourage me and their other targets to doubt ourselves and to wonder if all of this isn't just in our heads. But to anyone who examines their pattern of behavior with clear eyes, the intentions of their actions are undeniably apparent. Now, you may be asking yourself whether or not Anita legitimately believes that she is being gaslighted. Well, I obviously cannot say for certain, but I would speculate that since she is a very well-known serial liar, she is just using common feminist jargon to play victim, and she knows perfectly well that she is doing it. Now, is she gaslighting Sargon himself and trying to get him to doubt his own sanity? Well, to be truthful, she might kind of be hoping for that as a side effect, but I doubt that this is her primary motivation, and I'm fairly sure she knows damn well that it won't work anyway. No, the main party that this dishonest portrayal of the events is intended to deceive and thus emotionally manipulate is her feminist audience, and the rest of the naive masses that might still be under the illusion that Anita is anything besides a useful idiot of an opportunist that was so lacking of integrity from the get-go that she was willing to try to base her entire career off of a premise that was basically debunked in the 1990s when right-wing wackos tried to attack video games. Anita is a snake. She has shown her venomous fangs now very clearly, and the only people who will truly be suffering from her actions from this point onward will probably be her fans, as it would be emotionally hazardous by itself to simply believe that somebody like her is anything even remotely related to sugar and spice and everything nice. The greatest trick the female-gendered version of the devil ever pulled was convincing the world that you cannot criticize liars without being called a misogynist. Drop me a comment, become one of these people if you feel so inclined, and stay tuned.